Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're back in the kitchen and I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite sweet treats here in France. And that is a gaufre. We have been eating these all summer long. My favorite way to eat them is with Nutella. It's chewy and crispy, but not cakey like a regular American breakfast waffle. So this is what we need to dissect and figure out how to make. So for the last few weeks, I've done the hard work of tasting them anywhere I go to make sure that I'm getting the texture right. So I experimented with different waffle irons, different batters, different techniques to get the right texture. And I'm happy to say, after several attempts, I've got it. You have to follow this recipe exactly. If you deviate from any of the tips or techniques, you're not going to get the same texture because I've been there. I've tried it, so trust me. So we are first going to begin by prepping the wet ingredients. So go ahead and crack in 3 eggs into a large bowl. Then you want to add 2 cups of whole milk, a 1/4 cup of melted butter that has been cooled, 3 tablespoons of white granulated sugar, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. I have really had a hard time with the vanilla extract here. It's not like the kind I get in the States. It doesn't have exactly the same flavor. So I do a mix. I do 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and then a full vanilla bean just to get the right flavor. But if you're in the States, you probably could just get away with 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Then you also want to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. This will just ensure that the exterior of your waffles get nice and crispy. And then you can whisk that all up until everything is combined and then go ahead and set that aside. For the dry ingredients, you're going to add 1 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 3/4 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then you can whisk that all together until everything is combined, and then take a fine mesh sieve and you want to sift in the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. This is important because you'll really get a different texture if you do it this way versus the reverse. And the other thing I learned is that it really helps to make this batter 24 hours ahead of time and pop it in the fridge. I made this last night and the texture is different. Now it will, oopsie, it will settle a little bit. So you want to stir it back up with a whisk. Just like that. Making the waffle batter the night before does 2 things. One, it deepens the flavor of the vanilla. So similar to like when you make a cannelé batter, which if you haven't made cannelés, that's another really fun French treat that you can make. But again, with that batter, you want to let it sit overnight because the flavor just becomes so much more pronounced with the vanilla and it's a little bit better. And the second thing is it's going to give you a better texture, especially inside for the waffle. We're going to get that chewy interior without losing the crispy exterior. All right, now for the fun part. Let's make the waffles. So unfortunately, I could not bring my own waffle maker from the States, so I bought this one at the local grocery store. It has the traditional rectangular shape, which is nice. I also like that you can have a setting between light or dark waffles, which is just a heat setting, and soft or crispy waffles. But I don't love that they're so thin. The wells are not very deep. Now, ideally, I would have used a Belgian waffle maker because they have a lot deeper well, but unfortunately, I couldn't find a Belgian waffle maker that would work in this kitchen. I found one, and when I came home and plugged it in, it turned off all the electricity in my kitchen. So I thought, oh, that might be just that model. So I went to the store, returned it, got another one and plugged it in and the same exact thing happened. So I was super sad because I really wanted the thick Belgian style waffles because that's what they have here in France. But you in the States probably have a lot better offering of Belgian waffle makers you can use, or if you have one at home, just use that because you'll get a thicker waffle, which I just think looks a little bit better and is a little bit more fun to eat. But while this is heating up, let me show you a little trick to get that softened, gooey Nutella. So when you buy Nutella, it will tell you to keep it away from the heat and also not to refrigerate it. But I have found that the only way to get it silky smooth is to heat it just a little bit because you see, when you buy it, it's almost like peanut butter. It's really thick, which is hard to drizzle on a waffle. So rather than pop it in the microwave, which I wouldn't recommend, instead I just heat a pan of water. I get it really hot first, I crank it all the way up to like 14. And then once it's simmering, take out a heat-safe bowl, something that will go in the microwave or even in the oven, and fill it with the Nutella because we're basically going to just very slowly heat the Nutella with the warmth from the water. So then you can turn down your water. I put mine on a 2 on induction heat, and that way it just keeps the water hot, but it's not actually giving it a ton of heat. And you'll notice it'll loosen up a little bit and become a lot more pourable and allow you to kind of drizzle the Nutella onto the waffle. Then you want to grease your waffle iron. I use any kind of non-flavored oil like vegetable oil. And then you want to ladle out the batter. Now you'll notice it is a runny batter, but this is what keeps the waffle nice and chewy inside. If you add too much flour, you're going to end up in Cakeyville, and that is not going to be as good. And also, just let gravity do its thing to cover the waffle iron, you don't want to add too much batter or it will overflow. And then I also let it set for a few seconds before I actually pull the top down over it. It'll just help the waffle set up a little bit and prevent it from dripping too much over the edge. So I usually make one to begin just to make sure that I get the browning and the heat setting right. Then I move on to making two at a time. And see, you can hear that crispiness. See, hear that? Nice and crispy on the outside. And then you can see the soft interior. See, here it is. See how yummy? Nice and chewy inside. They are just so addictive because of the flavor, the vanilla, the crispy exterior, the chewy interior. They would just be good just like this. But wait, there's more. We have to put the Nutella on top, of course. So I think a little goes a long way. So I like to just drizzle it on with a fork, and it looks pretty that way too. And because we have heated it up, it's nice and drizzly. And again, you could stop here. But my new favorite way to eat them is with a little bit of whipped cream on top. I actually think that is the perfect combination because the Nutella is pretty rich and heavy and the whipped cream kind of balances it out a bit. Now, normally I am a homemade whipped cream gal. I really don't think there's any substitution except here in France. This is my favorite brand. It's Isigny Saint-Mère, and this company also makes a lot of other dairy products I have seen around, but I was tempted when I saw this, and I'm so glad I tried it because it is quite scrumptious. But I'm gonna do it the way I saw the other night on Ile de Ré. Now, gaufres are street food, so if you were served this in France, you would be expected to just take this whole thing and pop it in your mouth. But if I was serving this for a party, I would probably serve it with a knife and fork. Let's see if I can gracefully put this in my mouth. It's so good. You have that crispy exterior, chewy interior, the Nutella, the whipped cream. It is as decadent as it comes, but France is really good at that. As I'm learning. I mean, can you imagine a dinner party where after dinner you just got up and started making waffles and serving it with Nutella and whipped cream? How good would that be? People would be talking about that for weeks. You have to try it and let me know how it goes. All right, you guys, I'll see you back here next time. Until then, bye.